Hey, I'm Sophia. Before we start, go grab a snack and get comfortable for a bit. These stories take their time, and they are told the way I'd tell a friend late at night. I really hope you enjoy them. This story has one update on it and my own opinion at the end. Comment and tell me if you agree. Let's begin. After my parents chose my sister over me, I built a new life that they couldn't touch. My mom's voice was sharp enough to cut through the chatter in the hospital corridor, and even with the phone pressed tight to my ear, I could hear my dad in the background saying my name like it was an inconvenience. I stood with my back against the cold vending machine, still wearing my scrubs, my hair in a messy knot that smelled faintly of antiseptic and stress sweat, and I watched two nurses push a trolley past me without looking up. My hands were shaking so badly, I had to brace my forearm against my stomach. "So, you're not coming?" my mom demanded, like I'd just told her I hated the family. "Your sister needs you. This is what family does." I swallowed and tasted the metallic bitterness that comes right before you cry. "Mom," I said, keeping my voice low because people were walking past. "I'm literally on shift. I told you weeks ago, I can't take time off for this." There was a pause, short, practiced. Then she said the sentence that rearranged something inside me. "Then don't expect us to come to your graduation. We can't be in two places." I stared at the wall tiles, white and speckled, and for a second the corridor felt like it was tilting. I heard myself inhale, the fabric of my mask brushing my lips. "Are you serious?" I asked, but my voice came out thin. My dad cut in, tired and annoyed. "Stop making this about you. Your sister is getting married once. Your graduation can wait." The words landed hard, like someone dropping a weight on my chest. I gripped the phone tighter, my thumb numb, and whispered, "It can't wait. It's a date. It's my degree." My mum sighed dramatically. "You always choose work and school over us," she said. "This is why you're alone." It was the kind of moment that happens in real time, but feels slow in your memory. I remember the hum of the vending machine behind me, the bright fluorescent lights, the smell of burnt coffee from the staff lounge. I remember the tiny sting in my eyes as I tried to blink away tears without letting them spill. I remember thinking, not even in a dramatic way, just as a plain fact, they're choosing her again. And then I did something I didn't expect from myself. I didn't beg. I didn't explain again. I didn't bargain. I just said, "Okay." One word. Calm. My mom paused like she'd been waiting for me to fight. "Okay," she repeated, suspicious. My voice sounded steadier than my body felt. "Okay," I said again. "Do what you want." My dad snorted. "Don't get childish," he said. And I answered, very quietly, "This isn't childish. This is me hearing you." Then I ended the call. I stared at my phone screen like it might change. My chest felt hollow and tight at the same time. I slid down the wall until I was crouching on the floor, elbows on my knees, breathing through a throat that didn't want to work. Dina, my friend from work, rounded the corner with a clipboard and stopped short when she saw me. "Hey," she said softly. "What happened?" I looked up at her and tried to speak, but only air came out. She crouched beside me without asking permission, because she's that kind of person, and when I finally managed, I whispered, "They're not coming." It was a Tuesday night in March when that call happened, and the wedding they chose over me belonged to my younger sister, Miriam. Miriam is 4 years younger than me, and for as long as I can remember, she has been the family sun. Everything revolves around her, even when the thing isn't about her. If Miriam is sad, everyone moves. If Miriam is happy, everyone claps. If Miriam is in trouble, the rules bend. If I'm in trouble, I should have planned better. That's the unspoken law in our house. It wasn't always obvious when we were kids because I was responsible, which meant I got praised for being low maintenance. But as we got older, the pattern became sharp enough to cut. My parents paid for Miriam's private tutoring when she struggled with school. When I struggled, they told me I was smart enough to figure it out. When Miriam broke up with her first boyfriend, my mom took a week off work to comfort her. When I got cheated on at 22 and cried in the kitchen, my dad asked me why I was being dramatic and said, "Focus on your studies." Every time I tried to name it, my mom would say, "Don't compare. God gives everyone different tests." Which always sounded spiritual until you realized it was just a way to end the conversation. I was in my final year of my degree when Miriam got engaged. I'd been working shifts at the clinic to pay rent because I moved out at 19 for my own sanity. I still came to family dinners. I still showed up for birthdays. I still did the dutiful daughter routine because part of me believed if I stayed consistent, they'd eventually see me. The engagement was like a switch flipped. Suddenly, every family conversation was wedding talk. Venues, dresses, guest lists, colors, traditions. My mom started calling me daily with small errands that somehow took hours. Pick up fabric, drop off invitations, go with Miriam to fittings because she needs a sister. I tried to help when I could, but my graduation date was locked, my exams were stacked, and I had this one stubborn hope. At least my parents would show up for my graduation. It was the only moment I'd been picturing for years. The cap, the gown, the stage, me scanning the crowd and seeing them. I wanted that image like a child wants a promise treat. I kept telling myself they'll come. They have to. When Miriam announced her wedding date, my stomach dropped. Same weekend as my graduation. Not exactly the same day, but same weekend, and my university ceremony was set in stone. Miriam claimed she didn't know. My mom said, "It's destiny." My dad shrugged and said, "These things happen." I asked Miriam privately if she could move one thing, anything, even a day. She looked at me with those wide, innocent eyes and said, "Why are you making this hard? It's my wedding." Then she added very softly, "You can graduate anytime. A wedding is once." That's the moment I realized Miriam wasn't just benefiting from the family system. She was invested in it. I tried to compromise. I offered to come to the wedding reception after my graduation ceremony. I offered to help with last-minute things the week before so I could be present in some way. I even offered to wear my graduation dress under my coat and arrive straight from campus if needed. My mom didn't want compromise. She wanted obedience. "You will be at your sister's side," she said. "People will notice if you're not there." When I said I couldn't miss my graduation, she snapped, "So your paper is more important than your sister's happiness?" Paper. Like my degree was a receipt. That's what led to the call in the corridor. That's what led to my mom's ultimatum. That's what led to me saying, "Okay," and feeling something inside me go still, like a door closing. I graduated without them. The morning of my ceremony, I stood in my small apartment mirror, pinning my hair under the cap, and for a second, I almost texted my mom to beg. I could feel the old reflex. Then I remembered her voice in the corridor saying, "This is why you're alone." And something in me hardened. I texted Dina instead. "Can you take 1,000,000 photos so I don't forget I did this?" She replied immediately, "Already on my way. I'm bringing tissues and snacks." When my name was called and I walked across the stage, I didn't look for my parents. I didn't let myself. I looked for Dina's face, and when I found her, she was standing, clapping like she was my whole family. My chest tightened so painfully, I almost stumbled. After the ceremony, while other graduates took photos with parents holding bouquets, I took photos with Dina and 2 classmates. We ate greasy chips from a paper tray and laughed too loudly. Later, alone in my apartment, I hung my gown on the door and stared at it for a long time. I didn't cry immediately. I cleaned. I did laundry. I reorganized my bookshelf. It was like my body was trying to avoid the reality by doing tasks. Then the tears came, ugly and hot, and I ended up sitting on the kitchen floor with my knees to my chest, whispering, "I did it." Like I needed to convince myself it was real even without witnesses. That weekend, my parents attended Miriam's wedding and posted photos like it was the event of the century. My mom posted a picture of Miriam in her dress with the caption, "Our princess." My dad posted a photo of himself dancing with Miriam. There was no mention of my graduation. None. Not even a congrats. Not even a private message. Miriam didn't text either. The only contact I got was my mom messaging me 2 days later, "Come over and help clean up gifts. Family needs you." I stared at that message until my vision blurred. Then I typed one sentence, no. My mom called. I didn't answer. She called again. I turned my phone off. And that, honestly, was the first real step in building a life they couldn't touch. Not because I became rich overnight or moved to another country. Because I stopped making myself available for a system that only valued me when I was useful. I started small. I set boundaries like they were physical objects I had to place carefully. I stopped answering calls during work. I stopped doing errands that weren't mine. I didn't explain as much. I found a therapist even though the idea terrified me, because my family treats therapy like a weakness. My therapist asked me on the first session, what happens if you stop trying to earn their love? And I burst into tears because I didn't know the answer. That's how deep it ran. At work, things shifted too. Without the constant family demands, I had energy. I applied for a training position I'd been putting off because I didn't think I deserved it. I got it. I moved into a slightly better apartment closer to the hospital. I bought furniture that wasn't secondhand. I started cooking for myself in a way that felt like care, not survival. I made friends who didn't treat my availability like a resource to extract. I built routines that didn't involve bracing for someone else's expectations. Then my parents tried to pull me back in. It started with guilt messages. We miss you. You're breaking your mother's heart. People are asking where you are. Then it escalated. My dad showed up at my apartment unannounced one evening, standing outside my door with a bag of fruit like a peace offering. When I opened the door, he looked past me into my living room as if checking how I lived. So you're really doing this, he said. I said, doing what? He frowned. Punishing us. I almost laughed. I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm protecting myself. He shook his head like he didn't understand. Your mother cries, he said. I wanted to scream, and I cried on my kitchen floor alone. Instead I said, I cried too. You didn't care then. His face tightened. He left without apologizing. That's where I'm going to pause the story midway, like you asked, because this was the point where the new life stopped being just about distance. It became about power, who gets access to me, and under what conditions. My parents are not cartoon villains, but they are absolutely responsible for the damage they've done. They raised me to be the reliable daughter who doesn't cause problems, and then they punished me the moment I needed them to show up in a real way. My mom is a master of emotional blackmail dressed up as love. She doesn't say, obey. She says, you're breaking my heart, which is basically the same thing but with prettier packaging. My dad hides behind practicality and tradition, but his silence is an act of choice. He's the kind of person who thinks conflict is worse than injustice, which is convenient when the injustice benefits him. Miriam is the hardest one because she's not clueless. She's comfortable. She knows the system favors her, and she leans into it because it feels good to be prioritized. She didn't have to become cruel to hurt me. She just had to accept the benefits and call it normal. Dina is a rare type of friend. She doesn't just say, I'm proud. She shows up with snacks and a camera and becomes the witness you deserved. And me? I'm proud I didn't cave. I'm proud I chose the hard discomfort of boundaries over the familiar pain of being used. The new life isn't about showing them up. It's about finally living without the constant fear that love will be withdrawn if I stop performing. Update. So after I graduated and went quiet, the family narrative became that I was being dramatic and holding a grudge. I found that out because my aunt called me one day and tried to do that gentle scolding voice. Your mother is sick with worry, she said. Why are you doing this? She didn't mean to hurt you. I asked my aunt, did anyone mean to skip my graduation? And she went silent. That silence was an answer. A month after the dad with fruit incident, Miriam called me for the first time in ages. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity won. Her voice was bright and tight, like she was reading a script. Hey, she said. So, we need to talk. We? I asked. Mom and Dad, she said quickly. They're really upset. I laughed, once. I'm sure they are. Miriam exhaled dramatically. Can you stop being like this? It's embarrassing. People are noticing. There it was. Not I miss you. Not are you okay? Embarrassing. People noticing. Reputation. I said, I'm not coming back just to make you look normal. Miriam's voice sharpened. You always do this, she snapped. You always act like you're the victim. The rage that rose in me wasn't explosive. It was cold. I was on shift when Mom told me they'd skip my graduation. I said, I graduated alone while you got a wedding with everyone clapping for you. And you're calling me a victim because I stopped cleaning up your mess. Miriam went quiet. Then she said something that made my stomach twist. Maybe if you were easier, they'd want to come. I felt like I'd been slapped. My throat tightened. Easier, I repeated. You know what I mean, she said, impatient. You always have rules and boundaries and feelings. It's exhausting. I stared at my kitchen counter, at the little pile of mail, at the mug with tea going cold. Do you hear yourself? I asked quietly. Miriam rushed on. Anyway, Mom wants you to come for dinner. Dad, too. They want to put it behind us. I said, what does that look like? An apology? Accountability? Or just me showing up and pretending it didn't happen? Miriam scoffed. Why do you need an apology? They're your parents. They did their best. That sentence, they did their best, is the family spell. It's what gets said whenever harm needs to be erased. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I said, I'm not coming. Miriam's voice rose. You're so selfish, she snapped. After everything they've done for you. I laughed again, but this time it was bitter. Name one thing they did for me that they didn't also do for you, I said. And don't say gave birth. She hung up on me. That night, my mom sent a long text that started with I carried you for 9 months and ended with you're tearing this family apart. She said I was ungrateful, disrespectful, cold. She said Miriam was crying because I was ruining her first year of marriage with drama. My dad sent a shorter message. We don't deserve this. I read them both and felt something in me finally snap in a clean way. Not like a breakdown, like a cord being cut. The next morning, I emailed my building manager and asked about changing my number on the intercom. I changed my locks even though it felt extreme. I blocked my mom for the first time in my life. I didn't block my dad yet, but I muted him. I told Dina what happened and she said, you don't owe people access to you just because they share DNA. Then she offered to sit with me while I did it, like it was a medical procedure. 2 weeks later, the real test came. My mom showed up at my workplace. I was in the staff hallway near the lockers when I heard my name spoken in that familiar tone. I turned and saw her standing there in her coat, eyes wet, holding a plastic bag, like she'd brought me food. People were walking past, and I felt exposed, like my private life had spilled into the workplace floor. My mom reached for my hand. Habibti, she said, voice trembling. Please. I stepped back. Mom, I said quietly, you can't come here. She looked shocked. I'm your mother. I'm at work, I said. This isn't appropriate. Her face tightened, the tears drying into anger fast. You're humiliating me, she hissed. I felt my stomach drop because there was again the real fear. Not losing me, being embarrassed. A nurse walked by and glanced at us. I could feel heat creeping up my neck. I said firm, if you don't leave, I'll call security. My mom's eyes widened like I'd slapped her. Security, she whispered, horrified. I held her gaze. My hands were shaking, but my voice stayed steady. Yes, I said, because you don't get to corner me at work. For a second, she looked like she might explode. Then she did something that surprised me. She dropped the bag at my feet and walked away quickly, shoulders stiff. The bag tore slightly on the corner of a bench, and a container of rice clattered. I stared at it, stunned, and then I crouched and picked it up, not because I wanted the food, but because I didn't want my coworkers stepping over my family drama. That day, I filed a note with HR. Not a complaint, just documentation. Because my therapist taught me that boundaries aren't real if you don't protect them. And here's the thing. After that, the guilt quieted. Not immediately, but slowly. Because I finally accepted what I'd been refusing to accept. My parents didn't choose Miriam once. They chose her over and over. And I couldn't build a peaceful life while still handing them keys. Now I'll continue the story and finish it. A few months later, I got offered a role at a different hospital. Better hours, better training opportunities, a fresh start. I took it. I didn't tell my family. I didn't post about it online. I just moved quietly. New apartment, new commute, new routines. I built a life that wasn't visible to them, and that invisibility felt like safety. One night, nearly a year after the graduation weekend, my dad called from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. I did, because I still have that reflex of hoping he'll say something that makes it right. His voice sounded older. "Your mother is in hospital," he said. My chest tightened. "What?" I asked. "She fainted," he said. "Stress. The doctors say she needs rest." I closed my eyes. I could already feel the guilt creeping up, slippery. "Is she okay?" I asked. "She will be," he said, then paused. "She asked for you." I stood in my kitchen, the hum of my fridge loud in the silence. I said carefully, "Did she ask for me to apologize? Or did she ask for me?" My dad exhaled. "She misses you," he said, and his voice cracked on the word. That was the first time I heard something human from him. Not family. Not respect. Mrs. I visited. Not because I forgot everything. Because I wanted to move from a place of fear to a place of choice. My mom looked small in the hospital bed, hair flattened, hospital bracelet on her wrist. She tried to cry as soon as she saw me. I sat down quietly and said, "Hi." She whispered, "You came." "I came," I said. But I'm not pretending nothing happened. Her eyes filled. She nodded slightly, like it hurt to nod. "I was wrong," she said, barely audible. It wasn't a full apology. It wasn't detailed. But it was the first time she'd said wrong instead of misunderstood. I looked at her and felt sadness more than anger. "I needed you at my graduation," I said softly. "I needed you to show me I mattered too." My mom's mouth trembled. "I thought you were strong," she whispered. I almost laughed, but it came out like a breath. "Strength doesn't mean not needing your parents," I said. She nodded again. "I didn't see it," she said. "I see it now." I don't know if she truly did, but something shifted. We talked. Awkwardly, slowly. My dad sat in the corner, quiet. Miriam didn't come. My mom noticed that too, I think. Her eyes flicked toward the door a few times like she was waiting. When I left, my mom squeezed my hand weakly and whispered, "Don't disappear." I looked at her and said, "I won't disappear, but I will stay protected." That's the new life they can't touch. It's not walls. It's not hate. It's protection. It's boundaries that don't collapse the moment someone cries. It's a life built on people who show up and on my own choices. My parents may never fully understand the difference between love and control, but I do now. And that means they can't rewrite my worth anymore. My parents are the kind of people who will swear they love you while simultaneously demanding you shrink so their world stays comfortable. My mom's love is real, but it's tangled up with control and image so tightly she sometimes can't tell them apart. The fact she used phrases like, "You're humiliating me," and "You're tearing the family apart" shows what she actually feared. Not losing me as a person, but losing the story of the family as a perfect unit. My dad has coasted for years on the privilege of being the calm one, but calm without courage is just complicity. He let my mom set the rules because it kept him out of discomfort, and he only started sounding human when the consequences became unavoidable. Miriam is, frankly, infuriating. She didn't just accept being chosen, she treated it like her birthright. Her "maybe if you were easier" comment is the kind of cruelty people slip in when they know the system will protect them. She's not a child. She knew what she was doing, and she still framed my boundaries as selfishness because my boundaries threatened her position. Dina is the shining example of found family, the kind that doesn't guilt you for needing care, The kind that becomes your witness when your real family refuses to. And me? I'm proud I stopped performing. I'm proud I didn't sacrifice my graduation just to keep everyone else comfortable. I'm proud I chose a new job, a new apartment, and a quieter life not as punishment, but as self-respect. That they couldn't touch part isn't about money or status. It's about access. It's about them no longer being able to press the old buttons and make me fold. If my mom wants a relationship, she has to accept that love isn't measured by how much you obey. It's measured by how much you show up, even when it's inconvenient, even when it doesn't serve your favorite child. The epic part of this story isn't a dramatic confrontation. It's the slow, stubborn decision to stop begging for a seat at a table where you were always expected to stand and serve.